Hey everybody, welcome to episode number 18 of Inbound Now. Today I have a very special guest, Mari Smith. Mari is the co-author of Facebook Marketing an Hour a Day. She's what Fast Company has called the Pied Piper of the online world. She's a social media consultant and professional speaker, and I would venture to say that Mari knows more about Facebook than Mark Zuckerberg himself. So welcome to the show, Mari.
Thank you. Really an honor to be here. I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah. I'm glad to get you on the show. So I wanted to get you here today to talk, all things Facebook marketing, and more specifically, how companies and businesses can leverage all the new recent changes with Facebook fan pages, because there's a lot of stuff. And also how companies can start thinking about how to leverage their content and what kind of messaging to push through their Facebook fan pages. So, sound good?
Sounds awesome. Yeah.
Cool. So I read your book before the interview. Awesome. It's kind of a step-by-step, an hour a day, how to kind of a linear progression, setting up, and then like what content to share, and then kind of analyzing and seeing what's working, what's not. But I've realized, like, working with a lot of companies here at HubSpot, one of the biggest questions I get, and you probably know the answer to this too, is, what kind of content should the companies be kind of spreading through their Facebook fan pages? What works, what doesn't work? What have you seen?
Okay, so content, the interesting thing is that less is more, definitely. So that is both in terms of how many characters, the KISS, keep it short and simple, and also the frequency. And I think that's actually the downfall of a lot of fan pages, is that they just have a barrage of information going in there, and often through a third-party app. I was just actually discussing this on my own fan page, that it can actually be a detriment. You're going to have less fans see your information if you just have it all auto-fed, and if you're actually putting too much. So I was recently reading a report put out by Buddy Media. They're a wonderful social media management company and app developers. And they have a brilliant study out that talks about numbers of characters, 80, believe it or not, very, very short, about 80 characters in length. Anything longer, your engagement rate goes down, because the thing is that a large portion of people that like your fan page never actually return to the fan page itself to engage with your content. They're only seeing it in the news feed. So it's crucial to get that sweet spot of a high edge rank score so that your content can be seen by your fans. So the more verbose you are, the less that people are likely to feel compelled to actually read it in the stream and reply. As for types of content, David, I like to recommend a mix of what I call like your own intellectual property and OPC, other people's content. And I like to strike a balance roughly about 50-50. And then frequency, Dan Zarella, he's written a Facebook marketing book as well, and he's HubSpot's social scientist, isn't he? A social media scientist. I love that title. And Dan, and I know Dan did some, I love Dan, but he did some research, and predominantly with larger brands, I believe, and that he was showing that once every other day is about right for posting. I think that's going to work if you have a pretty decent sized critical mass of raving fans who are going to come and engage on your wall regardless. But I think for most small businesses, you're going to want to post about twice a day, maybe 2 to 3 times a day. That's my sweet spot, and I'm getting close to about 40,000 fans right now. And I know if I post any more, my hide and unlike rate goes up, unfortunately, with people hiding stuff in the newsfeed. So, so that's content. Questions are always great, but I always recommend questions, and photos get the best edge rank. So, but it's often, I'm a little wary, obviously, of giving people like these hot tips, because then they're like, all you see is like, all they do is questions, or all they do is photos. You still have to mix it up, right?
Right. Yeah, I post out a ton of questions on our fan page. But so talking about EdgeRank, explain to the audience what EdgeRank is.
Yeah, well, it's this very complex algorithm that Facebook has under a lock and key. So those of us who are, immersed in the world of Facebook and have a lot of expertise, we basically have to do a lot of guessing, and I learn from others and others learn from me. I love to learn from Jeff Whitman. He's at Brand Glue. He's done a lot of, and Paige Lever, done a lot of different research as well as a VitTrue, and I mentioned Buddy Media. So basically, let me just say in a nutshell, EdgeRank is the algorithm that every piece of content on Facebook, whether posted on a personal profile or a fan page, it passes through, that content passes through this filter, and Facebook then decides which content needs to be shown in the newsfeed of each individual member. We're getting up close to 700 million, as you know. So interestingly enough, we talk about like an EdgeRank score, but the score is unique to every user, and it has 3 factors. And the first factor is what's called affinity, which is really the relationship. If you and I are interacting a lot, if I interact with your fan page a lot, I'm going to see your posts more. If we're friends and we interact a lot, I'm going to see your content from your profile more. The less someone engages with you, the less affinity score. The second one is simply weight, which is the type of content. I mentioned about photos getting a little bit of a better weight. Usually it's about photos, videos, links, status updates. And then unfortunately, third-party apps are way down at the bottom. They get less weight than other types of posts. They get less weight than manual posts. And then the third score is, Facebook calls it time decay. It's basically the recency, how recent. Something posted 3 hours ago is going to be higher in the feed than something 20 hours ago. So it's like shooting in the dark. I mean, you literally have to keep experimenting and monitoring your numbers and tracking to see what's getting good engagement, what's getting good post feedback, because ultimately I often say to people, we get really hung up on the numbers, and it's far better, to have a fan page that's really active and engaged with, say, 10,000 fans, or highly targeted and highly engaged, than a fan page with 100,000 fans and hardly any engagement. It's just like a news channel. You're just blasting stuff through there, and people are not really seeing it. So
right. So would likes and comments kind of come into play with that kind of what Facebook is going to show to that person in their stream there?
Perfect. You got it. Absolutely. So the more that you like and comment on content on a fan page, the more likely you'll see that. Now, as an admin, Facebook treats personal profiles and fan pages as 2 totally separate entities, even if you're an admin. So, for example, every time I go to my news feed, my own posts are at the very top. My own fan page posts are up there because obviously I'm interacting with my fan page. So I'll often use that as a gauge as to when would be an appropriate delay, a lag time. I'm usually going to put sometimes as much as 6 to 8 hours. I'll wait, because if you put them too close together, people that have few friends and have not joined that many pages, they'll see all your content bunched up as well. So.
Gotcha. So what about time of day? Do you see posts in the morning do better, afternoon, at night, like in 3 a.m. For the late night bunch? What works best for you?
Well, there's what I call high traffic windows, and they work on Twitter as well. And usually it's going to be in the morning. Now, I'm in Pacific time zone, so that's going to be roughly 7 a.m., 8 a.m. Pacific, which is about 10 Eastern, 10 or 11 Eastern, right through to early afternoon, about 1 Pacific, which is 4 Eastern. So like the core business hours. Now, what's fascinating, and this was also in the recent Buddy Media study, that it varies depending on industry. Like the automotive industry, I believe it's studies that they do better on a Saturday, the fashion on a Sunday or something like that. And so it's really important to experiment and see. In addition, all industries do well to throw in a little update now and again outside of business hours. So going for maybe not necessarily the 3 a.m., but what you can do with your insights, facebook.com/insights, is you can see the demographics. You'll be able to see, okay, we have a ton of people on a street Australia, well, or Europe or whatever. So it's going to be a whole other different time zone, and you need to factor that in. And maybe you've got a whole subsection of your fan base who would love to engage with you if you were putting content out at these wild hours, but it's normal hours for them.
Right.
By the way, Friday, and I was just reading about this, it seems that as the week goes on, the engagement goes up, and specifically on a Friday, because as people want to be at work less and less, they want to be on Facebook more and more. So. Right. You'll get great engagement.
Yeah, it's interesting that the peak time is actually during work hours, right? Like, oh yeah.
Right.
It's like, yeah, so that was actually one of my questions, getting into the insights. So what are some key insights other than demographics that people can kind of take away from page insights?
Okay, so let's talk about a couple of really misunderstood. First of all, impressions. Impressions actually show up on your wall within about 12 to 24 hours per post. And people get confused because they think an impression is like that's the number of eyeballs or pairs of eyeballs that have actually seen their content. In fact, it's the number of times that the content is being what Facebook calls rendered. It's rendered in the stream. That means it's been shown on the fan page wall and in the different news feeds of the fans, possibly even on social plugins. If you have a like box that has the stream, somebody happens to be on your website and lo and behold, there's the content. But so that's counted whether people are actually reading it or not. They're not able, unless you were using like the eye tracking software, you can't really see that people are reading it. So the impressions, I usually recommend people don't put a major focus on that. What's better to focus on is the feedback percent. You mentioned likes and comments. So it's an aggregate total of the likes and comments divided by the number of impressions, and that gives you a percent. So I highly recommend, you don't even need to go to your insights to look at that. At minimum, take that information off your wall per post, usually about a day's delay, and have that tracked out on an Excel spreadsheet. I actually have a system I developed for myself and my clients and students. So it's just a simple Excel spreadsheet, and it's an editorial calendar. So I'm planning in advance what I'm going to be sharing on my wall on my Facebook fan page, and then there's a column, just goes on and on with the columns. I plot, how well it worked, the numbers of likes, comments, feedback percent. Now, two very, very often not misunderstood, but overlooked stats. In addition with those, you've got to be, monitoring, okay, how well are we doing likes and comments? But engagement, in other words, unlikes, which are people who've chosen to literally leave the fan page, they're gone, they're just as, same as a non-fan. And then unsubscribes, which is the hides, and you get those in under facebook.com/insights and interaction.
Okay, so you can see the hides then. Yeah,
but you can't see exactly who, and nor can you see, I know there's like tools on Twitter that will say you can be notified when people unfollow you, and usually tell you like the tweet that they decided to unfollow you, which I don't pay any attention to that. But it would be really interesting if we could find out on Facebook, what exactly did you say that caused people to unlike or unsubscribe? But by using your own simple dashboard spreadsheet, you can use, I know I can take a pretty educated guess of, I try to, try something new, a little off the wall, go, whoa, okay, that didn't work as well, or off topic, or you've posted too quickly, things like that.
Right. Okay, cool. So with recent changes, now you can browse Facebook as your page. So that means that you can go and interact with all these different pages as your page, kind of spreading your brand everywhere, right? So what are some inventive ways you've kind of seen companies leveraging that, and how would you recommend that people use it?
Yeah, it's really interesting. When the feature first came out February 10th of this year, what I noticed was a massive flood of spam. It was like, a spammer's paradise. Like, whoa, they can spread themselves all over as their fan page. But there is, just with at tagging, whereas previously we could always at tag, now we can at tag in comments as well. There's a certain etiquette. I wrote a blog post not long ago about at tagging etiquette, and writing, networking on Facebook as your page also has a certain etiquette. So I like to be mindful of like, whose page am I writing on? Is it something that it could be, I don't necessarily believe in competition per se, but I wouldn't be going and fishing in somebody else's pond that had the exact same target market, and they provided a very similar service. In other words, I might, and this has worked really well on my page, is so I travel a lot, and there's times where it's not always difficult. It's not always easy for me to actually be live on my page and answering questions. So I've identified several what I call super fans. You know, they're like in the sports, the ones that have the big foam fingers and the paint on their face, and
right.
and Facebook land, they're, you know, the ones that are on your page a lot. They're quoting and they're answering questions. They're at tagging. So I've had a couple of people who are just members of my community who are in the social media industry and who reached out to me privately and said, "Hey, Mari, you know, if ever you need a helping hand to answer questions, I'd be more than happy to." And so that to me is just a wonderful use of this networking with your page, and the couple of different gentlemen that have been very, very helpful in that regard. And I always feel like their intent is very sweet, very pure. Their intent is to add value and to help me and my community. And ultimately, sure, they might get business out of it, but you can just tell by the way that they're you know, writing their content that that's not their primary agenda. So I just love that.
Right. So I totally agree. You know, like kind of leveraging the community, finding your super fans. You know, they're out there. Whoever's interacting the most, right? So yeah. Another recent change was Facebook moving away from FBML to custom iframe kind of tabs, and that opened up a whole new world of Facebook, right? Where yeah. companies can now have the custom landing page tabs. So is that something that you would see is absolutely critical for anyone with a fan page?
Oh gosh, yes. Oh, absolutely. So I mentioned Jeff Woodman, Brand Glue, page lever. He had done a study not that long ago. It was written on Inside Facebook, where they did a split test with ads, and they drove ads to a custom landing tab, and now another set of ads driving just to the wall. And they found that the custom landing tab will convert visitors to fans at a rate of about 46% versus the wall, which is about 26%. So for many years, I've been an advocate of that custom landing tab. I call it a welcome tab. You can call it whatever you want, but the purpose is to say, "Hi, you're in the right place. This is what we do. This is who we serve. This is what you'll get by becoming a fan in the quickest and most simplest way possible." Zappos do a wonderful job of that. I love their landing tab. But conversely, a landing tab like Threadless, the t-shirt company, you can tell that their intent is not necessarily to convert people to fans as it is to sell t-shirts, and their landing tab is a shop, and you can go and browse their t-shirts, but they have all the plugins you can like and comment and share, and it's just really brilliantly done.
Right. So with companies that aren't really that web savvy or don't have an internal web guy to do this stuff, are there custom apps that they can kind of leverage to make these welcome apps and what have you?
Fortunately, there are, and even when the switch went from FBML to iframe, most good, Facebook template companies just made the switch, and so it's really on the user's end. There's not a lot for them to do. There's some great like North Social and Volver, Lujour. Those are all suites of apps, and then there's some wonderful free ones. Wildfire app does one, and it's just called iframe for pages, and they have even two fields where you can put the fan and the non-fan content. It's called fan gating or light gating, or different terms for it. Right. Basically, a non-fan sees, click like, and you'll get some benefits, free ebook, coupon code, whatever. I use that. I tend to recommend that sparingly, because you don't want to get fans coming and liking your page solely to get that coupon or code and then unliking, disappearing. You kind of have to use that with some discretion. So let's see, there's another app called Static HTML. Nice, clean, white label, unbranded. I recommend that. I've used it on my own fan page. So, and the big shift really from FBML to iframe, the main thing is that we now have even more ability to customize our pages, but you have to host your own content on your own server. Or use one of these third-party apps, and I think just really was a lot of confusion around it. But we do actually have a lot more flexibility and choice now.
Right, cool. So what about other apps out there that you might recommend? I know. So if you use third-party apps to kind of post, that can kind of hide it in the stream, right? So I mean, what other apps do you use and recommend?
Well, there's a couple, and I love network blogs. I've been a fan of network blogs for many, many years. And what I do, though, interestingly enough, I like to take advantage of anything that will give me extra SEO and visibility, search engine optimization. So install the network blogs on your fan page, and then there's a setting where you can say, do not post to the wall. So what's happening is the tab, and you can actually change the name of the tabs now. I think I have mine called My Blogs. It doesn't have to be called Network Blogs. And so that's populating in behind the scenes, as well as the networkblogs.com website, and people can follow the blogs. You have the little widget that you can add to your own blog. So that just is kind of like set and forget. It's behind the scenes. And then I will always manually post my own blog posts on my fan page wall. In addition, Facebook's own Notes app, because Facebook, being, Alexa ranking of 2, they're the #1 social network, tremendous Google SEO. And I sometimes find I'll do a search on Google for a specific subject, and my own Facebook note will come up higher than my own website. So I do the same thing. I import my blog posts through the Notes app, but I disable that posting to the wall. Okay. So you're getting that set and forget SEO behind the scenes, and but you're still getting that better EdgeRank score by putting the manual posts on your wall.
Nice, nice. And with the manual posts, you're leveraging the tagging, right? Where if you're referencing a different source or whatever, and basically what that allows is posting on your wall and on their wall. So it's kind of like more eyeballs, yeah. And I think that's one of the more underutilized features, right, of the wall.
Yeah, and I love, like, if you was mentioning earlier about OPC, other people's content, absolutely. I think at tags, one of the greatest uses of an at tag is attribution. So you're sharing a piece of content that you find somewhere, and you just, it's kind of like retweeting. It's like retweeting the Facebook equivalent. You put an at tag in there for credit.
Totally, totally. All right, so I got some fan questions for you.
Okay.
I'm going to throw them at you. All right. So Adam on our Facebook page asked, what is the best way for to promote the liking of a post or getting more comments on a post? What have you seen work?
Well, you know what? And this is fascinating. If you literally give clear CTAs, clear calls to action, so you're actually saying to your fans, maybe you were asking a question. Remember, keeping it short as possible. I tend to be verbose, and my posts are long. I have to trim them back. But actually saying, if you agree with this, click the like button. Tell us what you think. Share with us below your experience. And I mean, it seems obvious. We know everybody knows how to like and comment, but when you literally put that in the post, keep it nice, short, succinct, a question that hooks the mind, it triggers them thinking, okay, wow, I know the answer to this question, or I want to share my answer. That really helps with the engagement. I'm not a big fan of the questions product, quite frankly. I've had it since last summer in beta, and even now with the new and improved version. It just doesn't seem to work right in the feed to me. I just assume do a regular status update. Right. I like to use photos, screenshots, ask a question, and the thread is nice and easy on the wall, whereas with the questions you get this pop-up and it's kind of confusing,
and you can't see the thread either. You can't see the thread of comments on it, so it's
right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Cool. Good advice. So another question from the Christian Brothers Automotive. That fan page that liked our page, so it's kind of like spreading the wealth, right? But basically, they're asking, what would you do to promote or build brand awareness for their business locally that hasn't launched yet? Do they kind of have a place to kind of build up a following before they even open their doors, or should they kind of wait and I guess get started first?
Yeah, okay, so they presumably have a physical location.
Yes.
So people will actually come there on foot. This is wonderful because Facebook are really, really ramping up their efforts to cater to the local business, to the location-based business, and they're a fierce competitor for Foursquare. So when you create a Facebook fan page and you select local business, and then they're going to ask you for your physical address, it will automatically create what's called a place page for you. So when people come in and they check in on their mobile devices, you'll see the check-ins. It'll have a little map. Everything else functions the same way as a fan page. People get a little alarmed by going, whoa, what's this place page thing? I thought I wanted a fan page. But my recommendation for a local business is just go with the flow and use the place page to your best advantage. So now, obviously, with this automotive company, people are not going to be coming through the door and checking in just yet. But by all means, they could set up the place page and begin putting content, begin promoting the page, maybe through Twitter, through if they have an email newsletter, a blog, if they have a physical mailing address list, do postcards, things like that, and really blending the old school with new school, if you will. And then when they have the shops open, some wonderful things. I mean, the moment somebody comes in the door, or even in the window, you can put signs and decals and actually Renault. There was a big auto show in Europe, and they had this really cool kiosk set up where people had their little badges and they could check in and then they could actually and it would Facebook like and go out onto their profile.
Right. That's cool. Yeah.
Some cool stuff going on for in person.
Yeah, definitely. And when people are checking in, it's just, spreading the word through their entire social graph that, hey, this place exists, and kind of gets the word out much faster. So yeah. Cool.
Yeah, it really does. And then even to incentivize them too, give them a free oil change or something for every 10 check-ins or whatever the case may be.
Yeah. So your fan page has over 38,000 likers or fans, whatever you want to call them, right? So, I mean, how did you do it? Like, what was the thing that you think made the biggest impact on building that community?
Persistence and consistency. So, it's interesting because the tipping point I have found across all social profiles, all social networks, is roughly 500 to 1,000. Also even goes for your email subscriber list, your blogs, blog subscribers. If you can get yourself to a 500 to 1,000 tipping point, you'll start to see some traction, some momentum. And just really, I've had my page for about over 3 years now, and I feel like I haven't. Sometimes it's so funny. I just think about this in my whole social media business. I'm like, oh, one of these days I'm going to really get started, But so I want to do a contest. I want to do a big major contest and some major prizes. But so that's kind of on my list of things to do. But the consistency and the persistence, what I mean by that is just there is at no time ever have I neglected my page ever. It's become an integral part of my day-to-day life. As important as checking my email and checking my tweets. And I'm not on LinkedIn as much because it's just limited time in the day, but Facebook and Twitter are my two sites of choice. And so on a personal level, Gary Vaynerchuk talks about this a lot, and Chris Brogan. I think Chris, Gary, and I have very, very similar approaches to social media management and scaling, and that is to just be very, very warm and inclusive and using people's first names and thanking people. Gary's new book, The Thank You Economy, it's like those two little words go so far. And I know I don't always answer every single question on my fan page, but I really do my utmost, and people can see that. And then now with my super fans coming in and helping, it's really allowed me to scale at low cost. It's just such a win-win for everybody. So
yeah, cool. So with your page, have you run any contests to kind of build it up? Would you recommend businesses starting out kind of running those contests to kind of build up a following, kind of, and then once you kind of, like you said, reach a kind of around 5,000 fans, it kind of builds organically from there? Would you say to start off kind of post good content, but also maybe do some contests to kind of build that up? Or
Well, interestingly enough, contests don't do so well if you're starting from ground zero unless you have a decent-sized community somewhere else. Let's say you've been working on your Twitter following, LinkedIn, your email list, wherever it is where you've got a decent, when I say decent, like maybe 5,000 or more names on a list where you can actually have them come over and get that momentum going. But if you are starting out and with your social media presence, then it's going to be a little trickier to run a contest because you need that volume of people coming in and participating. So best you can. I love to recommend a blend of online and offline public speaking in the back of your business cards. Any opportunity you get to promote your Facebook page. I mean, people can join your fan page through text message. They just text the word like, page username, all one word, and whatever the page username is, to 32665. And that spells FBook. So I often tell people, if you're in a situation, if you're on the radio, or if you're in front of an audience, get everybody to pull their phones out and join your fan page. So I recommend, waiting until you've got probably a few hundred fans before go ahead and, doing a contest. Okay. There's very rigorous rules about doing contests. You've got to use a third-party app. Wildfire, one of the most popular. Strutta is another good one, Strutta.
Okay, cool. So we got another question. This one's from Twitter.
Sure.
I'm sorry it's not from Facebook, but it's from Twitter. So Andrew Malone, he asked, where should an entrepreneur new to Facebook start to learn, promotion and different techniques through this medium? So basically some resources that you would recommend. Obviously your blog is great.
Thank you. Yes. So my own site, mariasmith.com, and my own fan page, facebook.com/mariasmith. And, I don't profess to know everything. I'm not a big ads person. My co-author, Chris Treadaway, he's one of the world's leading experts on Facebook ads. And there's case studies that you can find on the internet, too, with Facebook ads and split testing and all that. I love organic marketing. I'm a big organic and free. It's my Scottish roots. But I learn from all Facebook, Social Times, Inside Facebook, a lot of different books, any book out there on Facebook, obviously HubSpot, the blog there, your webinars, some great webinars you guys do, and actually a Twitter list. You can create your own Twitter list, or people can check mine out. I have a Twitter list called Facebook Marketing, and I have maybe about 50 different accounts in there that anybody who ever talks about Facebook, like The Next Web or Read Write Web, and a lot of different aggregator accounts, and I just sift and sort through. And I think that earlier you were asking about how have I managed to build my fan page. I've really deliberately carved out a reputation for being a really trusted source, that if people know if I'm sharing something, it's really gone through some internal filters that I've researched, checked it out. It's not just, some kind of throwaway thing. And so I'm really careful what I put my name to. So I'll sift through this Twitter, Facebook marketing list, and I'll cherry pick what, like a human curator.
I'll link that up in the show notes for sure. So, One final question. So with the there's a new button out for Facebook. It's like the Facebook Send button. So what are your thoughts on that? Like, is it an email killer? Like,
no. But yeah, so the like button has a new cousin, and the send button, interestingly enough, was created because every time you're surfing the web and you see a piece of content, you may or may not want to share that with absolutely everybody on your personal profile. I'm looking forward to the day we can just click a button and share it on our fan page. Hopefully that's coming at some point. But the purpose of the send button is that you can choose to share content on the web with groups that you've joined or that you've created, and so you're choosing a subset of your friends or a subset of your Facebook network to share that with. But no, I don't think it's an email killer, because I think it's an email enhancement. I think we'll always use regular email. Maybe, David, maybe the teens and early 20-somethings, we have this conversation in another 5 to 10 years, of email will have morphed to significant.
Everyone will be like, what is email? No, I don't think, I think it'll always be around. It's like Facebook owns the messaging platform. Like, no one owns email. So that's kind of what Chris Penn from Blue Sky Factory is always talking about that. So yeah, I don't think it's going anywhere. So
no.
Yeah, cool. So Mari, where can people find you online and connect with you?
Twitter.com/MariSmith, MariSmith.com, Facebook.com/MariSmith, Google me, as I say.
There you go. Or search Facebook. There you go. All right, cool. Well, thanks for coming on the show, Mari. I hope to get you back sometime. I really enjoyed talking with you, like all things Facebook. I think you're a smart mind, and want to get you back someday.
My pleasure. Glad to be here.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.